Let's create a manage code custom action. This example is the solution to an installation problem I was having in the past. In that installation, I tried to use xcopy file from an InstallScript custom action in order to copy a large tree of folders from a DVD to a target machine. It never worked. Only the first one or two folders would be copied, but not any of the deeper level subdirectories. The problem was eventually resolved by using a manage code custom action. We're going to copy the MegaView 1.0 folder and reuse it. And I'll change the name to MegaView 1.0 Manage Code. Now what we need to do next is open the installation project. MegaView 1.0 Manage Code, installation, MegaView. Since we copied the MegaView 1.0 folder to save time and also have a starting point so we wouldn't have to start from scratch, we have a small problem. We need to go to the Path Variables view and have a look here. We see that this path is pointing to the old location, and we need to change that. We're changing it to MegaView 1.0 Manage Code. And let's check all of these. Those are fine. The next thing we need to do is go to the support files view and check those support files. Sometimes the links to the files get lost when you copy a folder. I just want to check. Those are fine. And we also need to go to the license agreement dialog. Sometimes that link gets broken when you do something like this. And that's pointing to the right one. So that's good. Since this isn't a C# programming course, I'll just tell you how I created the Manage Code class library. I started with the sample class library project from the InstallShield 2013 samples folder. And we can go there and have a look. Okay, here we go. This is the InstallShield 2013 installation folder, samples, Windows Installer. Here's Manage Code Custom Actions, Sample Class Library. So I took that class library as a starting point. I then cleared out some of the unneeded functions so this example would be as simple as possible. And you can refer to the original version if you wish to see the entire example. I then created a copy folder function to copy the folders and files. Next, I copied the InstallShield interop MSI DLL into the sample class library folder and added a reference to it in the project. Now, the manage code method I have written is called copy folder. Let's bring up Visual Studio. And I will open the class library. It's WS Utility. Here is the copy folder function. It calls copy directory. You pass it a source dir, and a destination dir. And that function is just right here. It gets paths, creates them on the destination, and copies the folders and files. It's very simple, as you can see. It just recursively copies a source folder structure with all the files to a destination folder. I'm going to rebuild this, and we'll be done with the class library. So let's just go back to the Manage Code Installation project. Now, since we will be creating a copy folder custom action that's going to call the class library, we want to create two properties. One property is for the source folder and the other one is for the destination folder. And let's go to the property manager and do this now. That's the first one. The second one. Okay. The source folder is initially going to be blank. The destination folder is going to be it'll be initialized to C:\MSI 2013 projects. And this value will be the default destination path that's shown in the dialog. We need one more property. When you execute a Manage Code Custom action, you have to put the results somewhere. And here's the result. So we have three new properties: copy folder destination, copy folder result, copy folder source. Next, we need to create the custom action that calls this manage code method. Let's go to the custom actions and sequences view. We're going to run the custom action wizard. I'll right click, select custom action wizard. The name of the custom action is going to be copy folder. And the type, we're going to choose a different type this time. We've been choosing run install script code, but this one is different. We want to call a public method in a managed assembly. And where is the location of that? It's going to be stored in the binary table. We'll click next. And we need to browse to the source of the class library. So let's go to the WS utility folder, grab WS utility DLL. That was the one we just built. Click OK. We need to create the managed method definition. When we pulled the WS utility DLL into the custom action, it went and looked and found what the methods were in the class library, and we need to select the function. So we're going to select WS utility simple wrapper copy folder. I'll click OK. And you always want to select this from this browse dialog. Don't type it in manually. You'll have problems with that. The arguments. We're passing two arguments to the copy folder function. Remember when we looked at the class library? We're passing a source, folder, and a destination. So I'm going to pick the value out of the properties list. The first one is copy folder source. The second one is copy folder destination. And then down here in the return property, we've got to select the property to put the result into, and that's copy folder result. We want to choose synchronous, ignores exit code is fine. Actually, no, not this time. We want to do synchronous. The installation will wait until the custom action is finished, but we want to check the exit code because we're saving the result. Let's click next. We want it immediate execution, always execute. Now, where are we going to put it into the sequence? In the install UI sequence, we're going to place this after execute action. So this is after the execute sequence has run. So this is really at the very end of the installation. It's going to run this. And the condition, we only want it executed if the product is not installed. Go back, and we want it absent from the sequence in the install execute sequence. Let's click finish. I want to explain one other thing. We created the signature for the managed method, and InstallShield now knows about WS utility DLL and will take care of it during the build. So we don't have to actually add the DLL to a component or add it to the support files view. It's taken care of automatically. Now to finish this custom action, we need to point to a help file for this so we don't get a validation error later on. And let's point to a help file. MegaView 1.0 Manage Code Installation, Copy Folder. There we go. Next, we'll remove the File Browse dialog from the sequence since we don't need it anymore. You can always look at the MegaView 1.0 project if you want to see it in the example again. So we need to look at the UI sequence. We want to go from desktop shortcut to setup type in order to get rid of file browse. So the desktop shortcut dialog next button, let's go there. Edit behavior. The next button needs to go, instead to file browse, it needs to go to setup type dialog. And then let's go to setup type. Its back button needs to go to desktop shortcut. There we go. Now let's go back to the sequence and check. Make sure it's no longer there. And we see it goes from desktop shortcut to setup type, so that's good. Next, we want the user to indicate which folder on the hard drive to copy the example projects into. This will be the destination folder, and it will be copied into the copy folder destination property. We need some way for him to indicate this folder. To do this, we'll clone the destination folder dialog and modify it. Let's go to the dialogs view. I'll right-click destination folder, clone. Then I'll right-click on the clone and rename. And I'm going to call this destination folder 2. Let's go to the layout for destination folder 2 and change things a bit. We need to change the dialog title. Put a new string in. I'll create a new string. Going to be called IDS destination folder 2 title. The text in bold will be example projects folder. I'll click OK. Click OK again to select it. Now let's go change the description, dialog description here. Create a new string. It's going to be called IDS destination folder 2 description. We'll select a folder for the example projects. Select it. Fine. Now local label. This one we need to put in a different instruction. And this string will be IDS destination folder to local label. The text will be select a folder to copy the course example projects into. We'll select it. Now on the location, we need to change that. This one's a little different. In a string, if we put a property in square brackets, then at runtime, it's going to take the value of that property and use that as the string. So in this case, after the user selects the destination folder to copy the files and folders to, that value will be in the property, and then that value will show up in this string on the dialog, so he knows where it's going. And then finally, we need to change the property for this location, and that will just be copy folder destination. Now that we have the dialog created, we need to insert it into the sequence, and I'm going to place it between destination folder and desktop shortcut. So let's go to destination folder, behaviors. The next button needs to go to destination folder 2. On desktop shortcut, the back button needs to go to destination folder 2. For destination folder 2, the back button needs to go to destination folder, and the next button needs to go to desktop shortcut, which it does since we copied it. Next, for destination folder 2, we need to change the change folder button. Right now we have an event of _browse property and it's being set to installed. We want to change the argument for this and set this to copy folder destination. To get this whole process to work correctly, we have to define an entry in the directory table for copy folder destination, even though it won't actually be used. You have to add the entry or you will get a runtime error message complaining about the missing entry. Let's go to the direct editor. We'll select the directory table. We'll add a new row. And the directory is going to be copy folder destination. We'll leave the parent blank. The default directory is going to be source_dir. I'll click OK. Let's go to the releases view, build it. Test the user interface. From destination folder, we should go next to example projects folder dialog. We click next again, we should go to desktop shortcut. If we go back, we should go to example projects folder dialog. If we go back again, we should go to destination folder. The next and back sequences are working. The next thing to check is the change folder button. Now let's just go change a different folder. It could be anything. When we click OK, it puts the value in the text field so we can see it. This part is working correctly, so we don't need to do anything else.